Hello again, it's Noob, and here we have the Discombobulator. Yep, it's a rear tensioning profiled disc detainer pick made by Simon from the small company Opsasec. On my channel, I do actually like to try to highlight small manufacturers. I just don't often get the chance, so this is a really good chance for me to show off something very cool from a small manufacturer. This was actually sent to me by Simon from Opsasec, who makes these using CNC machines. This isn't a paid review or thoughts of my own, but I did receive this item for the purposes of this review. I have no other affiliations with Opsasec other than them sending me this. So yeah, that's all the disclosures, so do with that as you will. Right, so what is this? Yeah, this is a precision, and I mean precision, rear tensioning disc detainer tool. Now, just to show you how precise the machining is, this normally you'd expect it to drop when I let go, but look how it slides. Also, if you tap the end, it doesn't instantly shoot to this end or make a loud snapping sound. So you can see the tolerances here are excellent. However, you don't get drag or any resistance from this. So however it's been machined very well. You have knurling on both sides. And this does come with I've got to find it, its own little hex key for tightening these two tips. Now, what's interesting, as opposed to say like a Chinese disc detainer tool, which is front tensioning, the back part operates the picking tip. The back part on this operates the tension. So you can tighten this quite tightly, but the picking tip is actually a tube. So if you over tighten this, obviously you may risk crimping this hardened steel, and this is SKD6 hardened steel used for making these two tips. But even so, you do have to proceed with some care with any rear or center tensioning disc detainer tools, so you don't end up crimping your pick tip to your tensioning tip. Obviously, well, I say obviously, but I think you can probably tell from the look of this that the handle's made of aluminium, and as I said, the tips are hardened steel. And yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? So you might be thinking, well, if you have, you know, front tensioning tools, why do you need a rear tensioning tool? And that's a good question, but it is one that's very easily answered. Take, for example, this is actually, I like this, it's actually a very surprisingly high security like coin locker lock, but this is an Abloy disc lock, and you can see it's got loads and loads of very, very small discs. You can tell that by the spacing on the cuts of the key. But you also might notice that at the front of this, so this is disc 1 here. I'll try to use my turning tool here. That is disc 1. That is not a zero cut. Disc 2 is not 0. So this here, disc 3, will be the first disc you could tension off, or the last disc. And if you look here, that tip is the perfect size to replicate the tip of an Abloy disc lock. That being said, it also works with things like the ABUS Plus. Look at that, you'll see that that's a perfect size fit as well. So yes, there are a lot of locks like the ABUS Plus and the Abloy disc lock, which do tend to be a bit easier to tension, or indeed can't be picked otherwise in terms of things like the disc lock, if you have a rear tensioning tool. Now, that being said, most locks, even the cheaper Chinese ones that are disc detainers, can be rear tensioned. There are a few which must be center tensioned, or for other reasons maybe you know, can also be front tensioned, but nearly all of them can be rear tensioned. The only thing is that whilst this tool is primarily designed for higher security locks, if you look at the keys for these sorts of disc detainers, the tip itself actually goes a lot deeper in than some of the higher security locks, which means if you push this tool all the way to the back, and you'll probably see it here like that, so there you go, it will rotate and it won't bind. What you have to do is just withdraw it slightly, and then you see I'm turning that last disc. Then you just grab hold of that last disc and you can pick this perfectly normally. So yeah, it will work on all your cheap Chinese disc detainers, as well as some of your higher security locks. So, you know, like I said, like ABUS Plus granites and alloy disc locks. So very, very useful to have a precision rear tensioning disc detainer tool, as I think you would agree. So how can I demonstrate this? Well, one, I just want to do a quick demo of, and this is actually pretty much the same core as this. It's actually a slightly newer one, but this is the ABUS Plus. So I can sort of show you what I'm doing as I'm just going to pick this. I'm going to partially pick it and then show you the end part. So I'll show you how to pick this using a rear tensioning tool. Then we will do a quick pick of a cheap Chinese disc detainer lock, and then come back and do some conclusions. So in the interest of time, I've mostly picked this ABUS Plus core. You can see right in there, see the false gates, you can see the sidebar, but the whole thing isn't turning. Why? Because I haven't set disc 1 and the last disc here, which are both butterfly discs. Basically, if they're turned all the way clockwise, then they actually push the sidebar out of the true gate. So you have to set 1, hold a 0 disc in the middle of the pack and with the pick tip, and then set the last disc. So let's just try and set the first butterfly disc. So just going to try and find the binding. Got to make sure it's just right. There we go, that's perfect. Now what I've got to do is just move this pick tip to the 0 disc in the middle here, which I believe is disc 4. And I can hold that, and then I can rotate the last disc backwards, which I was using for tension, like this, and then we set that to the right position. There we go. And once we have, then what we can do is we can just turn the whole core like that. So that is a way to pick these ABUS Plus cores using this pick. So we have a very standard Chinese style disc detainer lock. It does work like this. Let's lock it back up. And then we're going to 0 our discs all the way clockwise like that. And we're going to get our pick tool like this. We're going to pop it all the way to the back like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to just pick up that last disc. So what you do is you can feel when you get onto it and then slip off it, and you want to sort of get a nice firm position on it, and then just hold the tension like that. And then you have the slightly tricky bit of making sure that you hold the whole thing still. So we're on the first disc here, can't feel anything, so I'm going to move on to the second disc. Here we go. Can't feel anything on that either, so I'm going to leave that where it was. Third disc, not on the third disc properly. I'm on it now, I think. Yep. And that is binding a little bit. Although I felt like I just came off that disc a little bit, so let's find that again. Okay, disc 4 now. I'll find disc 4. Okay, disc 4. That felt quite good. Disc 5 now. Oh, and I think, yep, we might have an open. Let's have a look. There we go. So there you go. As you can see, it's a very effective rear tensioning disc detainer tool. And no doubt it'll be very effective in those higher security disc detainer locks that need that rear tensioning. So a little background to this tool. Where did it come about? Well, like I said, Simon from Opsisec, who makes this tool, says that he is a Norwegian physical security enthusiast who started a small machining firm to try to develop some lockpicking tools. And he has a long history with tool development, with disc detainer locks in particular. And he wants this to be seen as a high-end introduction tool for higher security disc detainer locks. So I think that's is a cool way to start up a small company, and I think it's really good that small makers are bringing tools like this to the market. Now, in terms of price, bearing in mind these are precision but small volume tools, that is something which I don't currently know at the moment. I will literally splice in me telling you the price once I have it confirmed, because I know that the website to set these up is still sort of being sorted out. So I will splice in, like I said, the cost of this. So hi, this is Future Me. I just looked at the website link I was given, and the price of these I can confirm is £170 at the time of filming. So what do I think to this Discombobulator rear tensioning disc detainer pick? Well, first of all, when I've used it, I found the feedback to be really excellent, and I think that comes through really good materials. This is very hard steel for the picking tips and tensioning tips. They're connected very nicely to the two handle pieces, and these handle pieces are made with really good precision. There's hardly any movement at all between these two pieces, which means that your pick tip is always kept central. With rear disc detainer picks, way that these sort of lever off the tension point means that you have to be careful in keeping the whole shaft central to the keyway, so you can slide the pick tip in and out. But once you've got that sorted, it's very smooth to operate. So yeah, I'm really impressed with the sort of precision engineering here. I know these are made with a CNC machine, but even so, the tolerances are really excellent. The knurling is nice and grippy, and the whole thing just feels like it's really good quality. In terms of the radial cuts here, these disc markings which help you position onto discs, I found them very, very useful. They aligned very well with things like the ABUS Plus cores and your standard disc detainer spacing. However, the spacing is a little off for the Abloy disc lock, which has much smaller disc spacings. That being said, it doesn't really matter that much, because you can still use these radial markings as a guide even in the disc lock, because your position is always going to be relative to the last disc that you were trying to pick. There is a mark here on the tensioning part of the handle, and that does allow you to in general see against that mark how far you've rotated, but it would be really nice in the future to see some lateral markings running across or up, it depends where you're orientating the pick, across here. So some lateral markings make a sort of hashed or grid type pattern. That would be super useful for determining how far you've rotated a disc. Yeah, the aluminium handles are really nice. They're light, but they feel nice and solid. I can't say much more about the choice of materials for the tensioning and pick tips, because obviously hardened steel is definitely the way forwards, nice and durable. So overall, I think that this is really good. So while the price of picks like these, made in small batches by a single manufacturer, aren't going to necessarily be super cheap, that pricing will appeal to people who are interested in picking these high security disc detainer locks. If you just want to pick low security disc detainer locks, you probably don't need a precision rear tensioning disc detainer lockpick. You probably don't need to spend that money. You can buy something a bit cheaper. But if you are interested in picking those high security Detainer locks, then you really have to think about investing in a rear tensioning Detainer tool like this. So whether it's worth it to you or not all depends on what types of locks interest you, what you want to learn to pick, and whether you think it's going to be an investment for your hobby or indeed business. So there you go. That's the Discombobulator by Opsasec. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Do you have a need for a precision rear tensioning Detainer lock for those high security locks? Do you have one already? Let me know what you think of it. Is it something which you would consider purchasing in the future? Let me know all of that kind of stuff in the comments below. I do read them all and will reply to as many as I can. If you like a video like this, then please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing because it really helps my channel out. And of course, I'll see you all next time.